Christ didn't come to Earth to give us the willies. He came to help us out. He was a booster. And it's with that take on our Lord in mind that we've come up with a new, more inspiring sigil. So, it is with great pleasure that I present you with the first of many revamps the Catholicism WOW campaign will unveil over the next year. I give you the Buddy Christ.
In 1989, Star Trek V: The Final Frontier was produced by Harve Bennett and directed by William Shatner. It is a movie that has been run into the ground. Shatner has apologized for it. Everyone has made fun of it.
Star Trek V is so slow to get moving and so confused in its plotting that it's going to be of interest, I think, mainly to Trekkies, and then only so they can analyze what's wrong with it.
Star Trek V is the standard against which all badness is measured.
And so many have bashed the crap out of this movie that should be nicely tenderized for me. So, they're going to the center of the galaxy, where no ship has ever gone. Why has no one decided to explore this region? Because of the myth of the Great Barrier.
The people of your planet once believed their world was flat. Columbus proved it was round. They said the sound barrier could never be broken. It was broken. They said warp speed could not be achieved. The Great Barrier is the ultimate expression of this universal fear.
There is a big difference between the Great Barrier of this movie and the barriers he is talking about. For Columbus, no one thought there was anything out there to go to. For the sound barrier, no one knew how to break it. Here, the Great Barrier doesn't seem that far away, and when they do reach it, the barrier has no effect on them. It causes some shaky cam. That's it. The sound barrier, warp speed, these are barriers that require time and scientific knowledge to break. Well, the sound barrier did. Maybe in this movie's universe, we're expected to believe that we've known how to travel in warp for a large amount of time, and it just took time for someone to say, hey, let's try this.
You are a man.
Am I? We'll see.
All my friends know the low rider. The low rider is a little higher.
In Star Trek IV, we got the epic reveal of the new Enterprise A. Then in this movie, we find out that the ship is a piece of shit. What? Did the Federation make the Enterprise A on a bet? They wanted to see if they could make a ship out of popsicle sticks? To make it worse, it seems like the crappiness of this ship is infectious. Even the crappy tablets inside the ship don't work.
Captain's log, stardate 84.
Good morning, Captain.
Forget it.
So many problems of the movie would have been resolved if the damn transporter worked too. Somehow, the transporter can only beam up McCoy and Spock at the end, giving Kirk a reason to get chased by God. And then there's the hostage situation, but I'll get into that later. Why does everyone betray the Federation except for Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty? Well, in the original script, we were going to see how everyone gets brainwashed by Sybok except for Kirk. Sybok brainwashes you by taking your pain away. So Kirk is the only one in the whole damn movie that understands that taking away the pain of a person is not a good thing? Your pain is part of what defines you. That is the bold statement this movie is making.
I don't want my pain taken away. I need my pain.
A bold statement that most people would file under no shit. Now, the only reason why McCoy and Spock resist the brainwashing was because their contracts were strong, and they had the ability to call bullshit, forcing a rewrite of the script. Now, I could certainly see why some people would have pain so great that they might go to Sybok after he removes it, but most people wouldn't. This is because most people have learned to live with their pain. Kirk is not some superhuman that develops this profound idea that our pain helps define us. At least Scotty never betrays anyone and is never made a fool of.
There's nothing amazing about it. I know this ship like the back of my hand.
God, sometimes you just don't come through. God, sometimes you just don't come through.
In this movie, Kirk is infallible. Well, maybe not infallible. But even then, he made it far higher than a man his age and in his shape should be able to do. He is the one to ask the obvious question of God.
What does God need with a starship?
Another interesting idea from the no shit department. Hell, he even has psychic powers.
Oh, no, it isn't that. I knew I wouldn't die because the two of you were with me.
I do not understand.
I've always known. I'll die alone.
So maybe his psychic powers suck, but he still seems to think he has them. This is made much worse when you look at the mission they go on. They send the Enterprise to rescue hostages because Kirk is such an incredible badass that even in a junker ship, he'd be better suited to rescue them than every other ship in the fleet. And why don't they just beam the hostages out?
But they're still enough to do. Even if we could lock onto the hostages, we couldn't have beamed them up.
We'll have to get them out the old-fashioned way.
So we are to believe that the Enterprise A is better qualified to save the hostages than any other ship with a working transporter just because Kirk is there? Apparently he's so awesome that they don't even transfer him to another ship. Probably because the combination of coolness you get from Kirk on an actual working ship would be so much cool that this movie's universe would be destroyed at the unimaginable amount of cool focused on one location.
Merrily, lightly down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily.
Come on, Spock. Why didn't you jump in?
Many people complain about the first Star Trek movie, calling it things like the motionless picture. I think it's fair to say the most memorable scene in that movie is the 4-minute-long reintroduction to the Enterprise. The scene fails not because it's bad. It's actually really good. It's just way too long. Now, think about the most memorable scene in this movie. And should I remind you, this is a movie that features God. Well, actually, I meant the alien. What is the one scene everyone remembers? The one thing possibly more boring than the damn camping scene is listening to my voice.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Stop! Yeah, this movie is unbelievably boring. Mostly because the script makes so little sense you spend more time scratching your head than watching the movie. Plus, the movie has so much in it that fails to engage. Lots of character stuff that goes nowhere and does nothing to help the plot. Not that all character stuff has to benefit the plot, but does at least have to be interesting, and that's where this movie fails. Too much, not all, of the character stuff overloads the movie and is boring and serves little to no purpose. The key plot stuff makes little to no sense and does nothing to alleviate the boredom from the awful character stuff.
Gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Merrily, 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 merrily.
The less said of the white stuff that Spock expels from his tube, the better.